directly into the microphone, right? Can you hear me? I'm gonna have to play with this. There we go. There are so many familiar faces here. Y'all are gonna make me cry before I leave. Charles, there we go. I want to say good afternoon, Pitman. Happy Pride. It's an honor to be here today, right back where I grew up. As a child, my father used to bribe me with breakfast from the Glassboro McDonald's to attend CCD at what is now Pitman Elementary School. CCD is Catholic for missing your Saturday morning cartoons. He also dragged me to get a regular haircut at Joe's Barbershop on Broadway. For me, that was torture. My indignance was briefly noted and then ignored. Pitman is very much a part of my hometown. I grew up a few minutes up the road in what my parents would call Seoul proper. I saw my first movie in a theater at the Broadway Theater in Pitman in the late 1960s. Our Lady Queen of Peace was our parish. And if you can call the Catholic Church on Pitman Avenue by whatever this sign says now, congratulations, you know how to use a chosen name. Kudos. Yeah. I got my very first library card at the Pitman Library, and Bob's Hobby Shop was about the coolest place on the planet. And every 4th of July growing up, we never missed watching the fireworks over Alcyon Lake. In June of 2021, my life had been forever changed by COVID, and my future was entirely uncertain. After nearly 35 years in Philadelphia, with half of them spent in service to my various communities, I returned to my ancestral home just up the road. I'd lost my business, my savings, and my sense of place in this world. Seeing those rainbow banners up and down Broadway, with so many of the storefronts decorated with gorgeous rainbow displays, I turned to my husband, Charles, and I said, how lovely. Clearly they know I'm back. I never thought I'd see such affirmation in this part of my hometown. Now I get to say thank you to those of you who've insisted on love and inclusion right here in my backyard that year and every year since. Happy 5th anniversary, Pride Alliance at Pitman. I'm gonna say it's disheartening to see the rainbow banners gone in a year when I believe, I know, we need them the most. The storefronts have not disappointed this year, and you cannot remove our pride, our grit, or our determination by outlawing fabric. You can't. You can't take away what we carry inside. They can only show us how they feel about it. We already know. With due respect to this year's entire graduating class, my heart is with the probably 10 or so graduates who were also, like Megan, represented by those rainbow banners. Imagine having your picture on a banner and still being erased at the same time. I had to get used to that when I was young here too. I'm not here just to talk about irony and unintended consequences. I am here to celebrate pride. And maybe, just maybe, we can recognize some common ground in the process. Today, I earn my living as an addictions and co-occurring counselor specializing in the unique needs and experiences of the LGBTQIA+ community, together with my amazing therapy partner, Nicole McHenry. Please. We've built an award-winning treatment program that is fast becoming a national model. It's right up the road at Maryville in Turnersville. We've got a table full of tchotchkes and information right out there in the parking lot. We have seen outcomes never thought possible because we work from... Charles, it's doing that thing. It's doing that. No, okay. I got it. Here we go. Bear with me. Technology and I are not getting along today. We've seen outcomes never thought possible because we work from the simple premise that representation matters and everyone deserves to achieve recovery with dignity and respect to their full humanity, naturally including their sexual orientation and their gender identity. Like everyone else's orientation and gender identity have always been respected and affirmed in treatment. It's somehow innovative to finally also notice ours. When our world feels like it's falling apart, queer and trans people lifting one another up is an act of resistance. I am a parent, a wife, an auntie, and a sister. I'm a published writer, a member of the Association of LGBTQ+ journalists, and as Patrick mentioned, the co-host of a top-rated podcast called Full Circle, the podcast. We're now in our 4th season with about 145 episodes of me running my mouth about whatever's going on. They're loud, aren't they?
You can be louder.
I'm trying. I'm also the chapter vice president and co-facilitator of PFLAG Collingswood and the co-facilitator and administrator for Transway, a peer discussion support group for the trans and non-binary community, and I've done that work since 2020. And I am a woman of trans experience who apologizes to no one for existing. I said all that part to say that unless I am disappeared, I'll use every available platform to tell my young siblings to square your shoulders, hold your heads high, and hold on tight to knowing exactly who you are. Because who and what you are isn't weird, it isn't sinful, and it isn't wrong. It is beautiful and important, and most of all, rare. Never allow others to define you. That is perhaps the greatest time waster of all. Never allow others to diminish you or dim your light, and never for a moment let a lie overshadow the truth you know and live. We need you, bold and alive. In times like these, queer and trans joy is an act of resistance. I spend a lot of my week talking with groups of people, groups who are struggling to find recovery from addiction, groups who are struggling to accept and embrace their identity in a world telling them they don't or shouldn't exist. Groups grasping to understand what is sometimes overwhelming new information about their loved ones. I begin each and every group reminding myself to lead these important conversations with love and with grace. In all of these groups, I ask participants to agree to 2 things: confidentiality and civility. I believe these 2 things are the bare minimum when we talk about hard things together. Agreeing not to weaponize the words that come from us when we are broken open, when we are terrified, or when we are trying desperately to hold on, that's essential. We promise one another not to turn someone else's pain into gossip. That simple agreement softens an entire room. It says, I will honor you as you honor me. When we promise civility, what we promise to one another is respect in our time together. It's a reminder that we all want exactly that. To be seen and heard and to have our very humanity respected. Mutual respect says, live and let live. Mutual respect leads to finding common ground. Respect says that even if I cannot understand you, if we come together face to face in good faith, we are less likely to leave that room and work to cause one another harm. When I insist on civility, what I am asking is that each of us bring our highest and best selves to our time together. We cannot do that in a shouting match. We cannot do that if our pockets are full of fearful lies and half-truths, overflowing with opinions on things that are literally none of our business. In a time devoid of leadership, community building is an act of resistance. I'm trans. Did I mention that? What? I am not a problem to be solved or something to be eliminated. I like to believe that I add some value in this world. Time will tell my story just as it will for those who would see me gone. Here and now, at this point in our history, my existence is being politicized as a distraction. The rhetoric surrounding me and mine is meant to confuse and divide. It's meant to instill fear, because when we are afraid, we do not make good decisions. Especially about people we've seldom or never bothered to call human in the first place. When we are fearful and distracted, it is impossible to summon our best selves. When fear takes hold, kindness is an act of resistance. Anyone who says they come from a place where there are no trans people comes from a place where we are oppressed and fear for our lives. The fact that safety might require us to hide is no measure of our existence. Our stories matter, and I, for one, will hide from no one. Not anymore. Not anymore. When the rhetoric gets so far out of hand, humans hide in fear for their lives. Solidarity is an act of resistance. Here in 2025, executive orders prohibit federal recognition of trans people in any aspect of civic life. I find that childish, churlish, and chilling. The history some would erase tells us you cannot order people from existence. Give me my phone. It just, the iPad died. I told you, technology and I today are not having a good day. I'll find it. Oh look, CVS is calling. My prescription must be in. Yeah.
It's taking everything I have to now get up and go back there.
Same.
Okay, there we are. I found it.
Hold on for
How about
just
that?
But then she's telling me to behave. And the kindness is the
I'm just gonna keep going. You know, resistance doesn't always carry a bullhorn. In 2025, existing openly as a trans or gender expansive person is an act of resistance. Supporting us with your entire voice is an act of resistance. I'd like to say we're all still here in every color, shape, size, origin, and all the beautiful intersections. Queer, trans, black, brown, butch, femme, all the glorious and valid expressions in between, speaking every language and raised in every culture. I'd like to say all of the people my government is telling you to fear are still here, but some have already been gathered up. So only some of the people my government is telling you to fear are still right here. Boo. We are born into every type of family, regardless of the beliefs of our parents. Prayer has never once altered the sexuality or gender identity of a human being, no matter who does the praying. Not once. Every family comes to know the fact of us through acceptance or a commitment to ignorance when they cannot will us away. If you ever want to know what courage and determination really look like, I will introduce you to trans people who started fending for themselves before they were 15 years old. Many, not all, are still here. In a time when too few seek truth, truth-telling is an act of resistance. I believe each of us is called to find the place where we can acknowledge that every life is sacred. When they orchestrate division, standing together is an act of resistance. There's plenty of history for us to look at whether they burned those books or not. History is imprinted on too many souls to exist only as long as paper survives. When young Nazi sympathizers burned Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld's library in 1933, queer and trans people did not cease to exist, nor did we stop knowing we have a rich history in this world. And the inhuman ugliness being legislated against us right now in our nation will not eliminate us either. Trans children exist. I was one. These politicians are grotesquely attacking trans children with phrases like, protect the children. And my question to that is always, which ones? They aren't protecting anyone, and we're all less safe with folks making uninformed decisions about our lives. History will not be any kinder to the present day folks burning books. In times of chaos, peace is an act of resistance. For too long it has been the job of the oppressed to ensure the oppressor's comfort. Growing up around here, I was taught that your rights end at my nose. Yours end where mine begin, and so on. I learned to live and let live. When this agreement is out of balance, and right now, folks, it's way out of balance, the oppressor has little cause to expect peace, and their legacy, like those who went before them, will be one of shame. While I believe in redemption for a living, I'm afraid they will never correct course until it costs them the only things they seem to care about: money and power. I believe America at her best is supposed to be able to be about our collective power, not the power of the wealthy few, telling us who to hate from on high. Dry. You know, when hate is the order of the day, love is an act of resistance. Shortly before his murder in 1978, Navy veteran Harvey Milk famously said, come out wherever you are. Because the theory is that when they hate us, when they know us, when they know us personally, it's harder to hate us. It's not impossible. They've recently scraped Harvey's name from a Navy ship that was christened to honor his legacy. But his legacy remains in the face of their ugliness. It lives within us, in our bones. Harvey Milk was murdered by someone with whom he tried to find common ground. If none of us is willing to continue that work, the work of finding grace, despite the fear in the hearts of others, I don't know a way forward. When minds are closed and hearts are hardened, hope, my friends, is an act of resistance. I don't know that many of you can fathom having the intimate details of your entire existence debated and dissected on national television, with the only goal being to demoralize and demean you for wanting to live authentically in a largely inauthentic world. Trans children are living that every day, and their only goal is authenticity. There is power in authenticity. From Dewey's coffee shop in 1965, to Compton's cafeteria in 1966, to Stonewall in 1969, to our 15 plus years of the AIDS pandemic, when I came of age terrified. Queer and trans people have been tested with literal fire for generations. What we have done, time after imperfect time, is stand together on whatever sliver of common ground we can find, and together we've educated, we've rallied, and we've advocated. We've nursed our own wounds, we have buried our own dead, and our authentic love has become a beacon of light to open one another's hearts throughout time. And that'll happen again. When misinformation is common, education is an act of resistance. We celebrate Pride to remind one another of our rich history of collective resilience. Our resilience is an act of resistance. And we have the audacity to say we belong here, with as much right to take up space as anyone else. We have as much right to a peaceful and dignified life as anyone else, and we do not require anyone's permission to exist. That is not how rights are supposed to work. There is a difference between arrogance and audacity. Assuming that you could possibly know me better than I know myself, that is arrogance. Knowing I have as much right to stand here among you and breathe this air, regardless of what you may think of me, that is audacity. And to my mind, that right is sacred. It belongs to all of us. No one can take away what we carry inside. When they even try, they should expect our resistance in all of its forms. Coming together and celebrating Pride, with or without the lampposts. That is most definitely an act of resistance. Happy Pride, Pitman, and thank you.